This is one of the saddest, coldest, and harshest reality checks I've ever seen in my life, and as college football fans, we're witnessing it in live time. I just don't believe it. There is no way it can get worse than this. Or can it? I don't want to say that I love seeing Texas A&M crumble, because I don't love it. But I will say this, it's pretty dang funny. What did I tell you in the offseason? What did I harp on? And all of you criticized me for it? I said Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher isn't going to accomplish anything, and he's a fraud. And by the way, this is your disclaimer and warning, because I am going to get amped up and passionate in this video. I haven't got fired up in a video in a very long time, so it's about time we do so. Now, even with me knowing, even with me stating it on YouTube where you can go back and rewatch it months ago, even I myself did not think it was going to get this bad. If you would have told me 4 or 5 months ago that Texas A&M at one point in time in the future was going to be 3-4, I'd have looked at you and said, what in the crap happened? How in the world does a team with the #1 recruiting class with all these 5-star recruits and a head coach who's been there for a while go 3-4? I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. Whoa. Wait a minute. I do know why, and it does make sense. Jimbo Fisher is an idiot, bozo, and a fraud and all of that. The craziest part about that statement I just said is there's still going to be some people who think I'm being too harsh, and in reality, I think that's a nice way to put it. I don't think some of y'all quite understand. If this was Josh Heupel, if he was 3-4 right now, Tennessee fans would be calling for his job. And this is with Josh Heupel taking over a program that was left out to dry with all these allegations going on and players leaving left and right. I can't emphasize it enough. It's not so much that you're 3-4, it's where the program's heading. You haven't improved in 5 or 6 years. Of course, I'm not going to act like 3-4 has nothing to do with it, because it does. At the very end of the day, it comes down to winning and losing, and Jimbo is not doing a good job of winning. But, and I have a big but, at the very end of the day, it also matters like, okay, yeah, we're 3-4, but are we improving? Are we heading in the right direction? And they're not. It's about where you're heading. It's about what's to come. Last year, I believe if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee finished the year 7-6. For most SEC fans and Tennessee fans, I think y'all will vouch for me on this, 7-6 is not acceptable. However, Tennessee's 7-6 record, it was very deceiving because yes, although you went once again 7-6, everyone could tell they're heading in the right direction. Fast forward in time to our current day, they're now undefeated and a top 3 team in the country. Did everybody think that Tennessee was going to upset Bama heading into the season? Absolutely not, but here's what they did know, and I can't emphasize this enough. What have I harped on? Everybody knew they're heading in the right direction. I say all that to say this. I know it was a lot, but it leads me to my next point perfectly. A&M is heading backwards. They're heading in the wrong direction. There's no easy way to say this or sugarcoat it. The breaking news going on right now is that 3 Texas A&M players have been kicked off of the team. As to when I'm speaking and as to when you're currently watching this video, this is still an ongoing investigation and nobody knows all the details just quite yet. We do know some of the details though, and it is fascinating to say the least. We're going to talk all about that as always. We're on the road to 300K. So if you like college football content, what are you doing? Consider subscribing. It is 100% free. And I know there's a bunch of you right now. You're watching and you're not subscribed. What are you doing? Doesn't hurt you whatsoever. And it helps us tremendously. All right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Shut the crap up now without further ado. Let's get into it. First things first, before we get into that, I need to address this because I've had about 4 or 5 people tag it to me on Twitter. Apparently, a Florida football player was attending the Bama game on Saturday. This picture I'm showing you on your screen right here, it's been going all over Twitter, but here's what a lot of people don't know. Also, apparently, his Instagram got hacked, and that picture is from months ago. I do want to clarify that. According to this player from Florida, he didn't go to Bama, his Instagram got hacked. Here's my question, and it's an honest question. Why would somebody hack your Instagram to post you in an Alabama shirt? Why would they do that? I'm not saying I don't believe it was hacked, but here's what I am saying. You can do what you want with this information. Moving on to our next topic real quick before we get into this Jimbo stuff. Gotta address this. The new NFL draft, I guess you'd call it mock draft big board, it came out. And according to this midseason big board, at 1 and 2, you got Bryce Young and Will Anderson. I think that's right. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, they're the best 2 players in the country, and they're the best 2 players in the draft. I really believe that Young has separated himself entirely from CJ Stroud this year, and it's not close. I do like CJ Stroud, but Bryce Young, he's on another level. At the end of the day for the NFL, it's going to come down to this. Do you want an edge rusher? Then you take Will Anderson at number 1. But if you need a quarterback, then you take Bryce. I believe if Bryce Young is not the first quarterback taken off of the board, you're making a big mistake. Here's where things get debatable to say the least, and I do not agree with it. Will Levis at 3 and CJ Stroud at 4? Come on, man. I've watched all of CJ Stroud's games. I've watched nearly all of Will Levis's games. I've went back and watched the film, and there's no way I would pick Will Levis over CJ Stroud. Everyone's high on Levis because he has the size, he has the arm talent, but so does CJ Stroud. Stroud is roughly 6'4", and he has the arm. If you want to take it a step even farther, I'm not going to put him up, but it's just clear and obvious. CJ Stroud has way better numbers than Levis. You do got to mention and throw in there Stroud is throwing to way better and superior receivers than Levis, but still, I think CJ Stroud is 2 times better than Levis at this current moment. I just, for the life of me, cannot see a scenario where a GM or whoever is making this pick, they're watching the film and they go, yep, we're going to pick Levis over Stroud. That doesn't make sense to me, and the rest of the top 10 is basically defensive linemen and edge rushers. Let me know your thoughts on that big board. But now, finally, the main encore, the main topic, the main reason you clicked onto this video. We got to talk about Jimbo Fisher. I'm not beating around the bush. We're jumping straight into it. You see it right here. 3 Texas A&M players were reportedly suspended for doing you-know-what in the locker room before the South Carolina game. What? I don't condone players to do this in general, but I can't even fathom or try to believe or try to make sense as to why they would do this right before a football game, considering y'all suck. If it was me in that situation, I'd be more focused on the game than trying to do whatever they did. According to Jimbo Fisher, he has suspended 3 true freshmen from that #1 ranked recruiting class in 2022. One of those being a cornerback, Denver Harris, a wide receiver, Chris Marshall, and an offensive lineman, PJ Williams. You hate to see it. I'm just playing. I don't think most people hate to see it. I think everyone in the country does not like Texas A&M. Here's something to note, though, and pay attention to. This isn't the first time that Harris and Marshall have been suspended this season. It's the second time. And also their star wide receiver, Evan Stewart and Smoke Bowie, I don't know who that is, they were also suspended earlier in the season. Oh man, just like this tweet right here says, when it rains, it pours. I've been told at least 3 and perhaps 4 A&M players have been suspended indefinitely by Aggie head coach Jimbo Fisher, all from the true freshman ranks. I do want to address that. He said when it rains, it pours, and he's 100% right. We've all been there before. I'm sure you've had a good week, maybe a good 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a good month or a couple of months where you're sitting there in life in general, and you're going, man, my life is awesome right now. Can it get any better? And next thing you know, it does get better. On the flip side, though, I think we've all been here as well. When life is going bad and you have that bad day, bad couple of days, bad week, bad month, and you're sitting there going, man, can it get any worse than this? Life sucks. It somehow gets worse. Ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what you're seeing happen with Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher. I'm not an A&M fan, but I can guarantee you they're all sitting here going, man, I guess it can't get much worse than this, and it has. I would like to sit up here and tell y'all that it can get worse, but I kind of believe it can. Somebody commented, this is it, I can't do it anymore. I can no longer support Texas A&M. Longtime alumni just said this program has become. I'm going to start rooting for Texas until something changes with our Aggies. That is the craziest thing ever. Rooting for a rival is insane. Wait a minute, hold on. Now that I think about it, rooting for Texas ain't too much better. Heck, man, if I'm going to change teams, which I wouldn't, that's just ridiculous. But if I am going to change teams, I'm going to change to a good team. Somebody made a picture that says A&M's downfall, and it's got me watching because I prayed for it. That's facts. I think everyone was wanting this to happen. Check out this comment, though. It's got over 500 likes, or nearly 500 likes. The portal is going to be filled with Aggies in a couple of months. What do y'all think about that? Do y'all believe a lot of these 4- and 5-star recruits from the #1 class, they might leave? I'll tell you this much. I can guarantee you a lot of them aren't too happy at this current moment. Especially being in the SEC, you're seeing Tennessee of all teams thrive. You're seeing Georgia thrive. You're seeing Ole Miss, they're doing good. You're seeing Kentucky doing all right. And, of course, Alabama is Alabama. I'm not going to say a bunch of these recruits are going to leave, but I can guarantee you some of them will. All right, one more comment. I really like this one. It's got over 250 likes. I don't mean this as disrespect towards A&M, but NIL can't buy a kid's desire to play for a school. The athlete should want to play for the program so badly that they would almost be willing to walk on to make the team. Those players have a huge impact, not in all caps the NIL guys. I agree 100%. I'm sure some of my older people out there, you've heard this. They say when you go into a job or whatever you want to do, don't do it for the money, do it for the passion. If you go into anything just wanting money out of a situation and money is your biggest motive, it never turns out to go the way you think it would. However, on the flip side, let's say you got a passion for something that you get paid for, well, it's going to turn out to be a little better because you're not doing it for money, you got a passion for it. The money's going to come with it. Whenever you want to take that leap of faith and start a business or be an entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, do it for the passion, not the money. Do it for the passion. Everything else will fall into place, and that's a great example of what we're seeing with these kids. A lot of these kids that are going to A&M for money, and I'm not hating on them or trying to throw shade because a lot of us would have done the same thing. They're not seeing that good return on their investment because they didn't go there for football. They went there for money. Whereas, and I'll say this till the day I die, people that go to Alabama, these kids that go to Bama, they're not going there for money. They're going there for football and the culture. Bryce Young didn't go to Alabama because he thought he was going to get a $2 million NIL deal. He went to Alabama because they're the best of the best. Because you want to know the cold hard truth? Nick Saban is telling all these kids and recruits, hey, we're not going to pay you, but guess what? If you're a first round pick because of us, you're going to make $25 million. And when you think of it, what is a $1 million NIL deal compared to $25 million in the NFL? It's chump change. Now, to people like me and you, $1 million is a lot, but comparing it to NFL money, it's nothing. Whenever these kids are trying to make their college choice, their decision, they should go there based off of if that school fits them the best. I remember saying this 2 years ago when it was announced this NIL stuff was going to come out. I said there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of it, but there's also going to be a lot of bad. We're currently witnessing the bad side of the NIL, and I'm just happy it's not happening to my team. Here's what happens. You give these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids $500,000, $1 million, they don't work as hard. That's not a knock against them. That's human nature. If your job tomorrow called you and said, hey, we're going to give you $1 million, I guarantee you wouldn't be as inclined to go to work the next week or month. I think we can all agree on that, and that's a way that me and you can try to relate to this. If we was all given $1 million tonight, yeah, we wouldn't feel the pressure of having to go to work 7 days in a row to try to make overtime money. It's the same thing with kids. Whenever you spoil one of your kids, whether that's a son or daughter, it's one of the worst things you can do in this life. Why is it bad? Because it lets them know they don't have to work for anything in this life. However, on the contrary, if you don't spoil them, you let them know you got to work for everything you get in this life, then they're going to be successful. This is one of the saddest, coldest, and harshest reality checks I've ever seen in my life, and as college football fans, we're witnessing it in live time. I just don't believe it. There is no way it can get worse than this. Or can it? That's my biggest question and my biggest takeaway from all of this. I'm very curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But right away, Millie!